Welcome to the I'm pretty fucking lazy and want to learn how to swim 4 quick tutorial that will teach you most of the stuff in under 10 minutes, no guarantees though. This tutorial assumes that you have played the in-game tutorial before you've done this as Italy. After the last objective, pretty much abandon that game. You should not play as Italy in your first couple playthroughs, at least I don't think you should. And boot up a new game as the German Reich without Iron Man and on civilian or recruit difficulty, so the game is more forgiving. So let's start off with the basics. This is date and time. It's pretty basic. This is the time, this is the date. Next up, we have this stuff. This is pretty much stats that you can look at. These are icons. Ignore them for now. This is the country of your flag. And that all segues into the first part of the tutorial. Political power. Political power, imagine them as being coins for the sake of simplicity. They're essentially coins that you use to purchase different items and upgrades, and also to do pretty much every diplomatic task there is in the game. So, this is your flag. You see it? Let me zoom in. You see it now? It's pretty small. Do you see it? Click on it. Oh, what is this? This is a lot of shit. This is confusing. I'm too fucking stupid. I am quitting the game. No, you dipshit. Stay. Remember those items I talked about? Yeah, this is pretty much it. This is your leader. The guy that rules the country. Different leaders have different buffs. Hitler has political power gain plus 25%. It means you get more political power every day. Mouse over, you see how much you get per day and why and where from. Different countries, different leaders, and different buffs, I guess. Hitler is ruling Germany. Chef Boyardee is leading Italy, I guess. Per Albin Hansson is leading Sweden. You can't see their traits, by the way, because you're not playing as them. Ignatius Stalin is leading the Soviet Union, and so on and so forth. Open this menu up again. Hopefully you can see it. It's pretty small. This is your national focus tree. You should know what this is because you played the Italy tutorial. But to recap, if you didn't really understand it, it's a goal that your country strives towards for about 70 days, and you also spend 1 political power per day to complete this. These are your national spirits. These are your country's traits. They can give you buffs or debuffs depending on what you are. We'll talk about medieval bills a bit later. This is the faction you're in. So Germany's on the axis. You can press F9, look at all the factions that exist. Press F1 to get back into regular mode. This is some information about what your politics, I guess. It's your political sphere. It's literally a sphere. Politics. Red is communist, blue is democratic, orange is fascist, and gray is non-aligned, which is essentially monarchist, authoritarian, or something of that kind. Let's go further. Ignore these two, because you're not gonna be really worrying about these two. But when at war, you might want to pop into this tab and look at it yourself. It's not that hard. This is your government. Laws and government. These are your laws. These are your government. First off, we have manpower laws. Conscription. This is how many people you can recruit to fight for you. This is how many people you have available for recruiting into the army. And you can increase the percentage of your total population that can be recruited into the army by changing these settings. Next up is your economy law or trade laws. This is a double-edged sword because if you trade more, you're not going to get the resource for yourself, but you're going to get bonuses from trading, like research bonuses, essentially, or factory bonuses. Germany starts off with limited exports, so you send out some stuff, but most of you keep it to yourself. Next up, economy laws. This is how your economy behaves. It's pretty simple. It's how much stuff goes to the civilians, how much stuff goes to military. Each one has their buffs and debuffs. You can just mouse over and see. Next up is your governments. 3 dudes you can recruit that give you different bonuses, such as bonus to some sort of industry or bonus to to grow up different political parties, such as Democratic, for example, or you can also get more political power by hiring a silent workhorse. Research and production. Won't go much into these because you can mouse over and see what they do, but essentially how they work is that you hire one of them. After that, you start researching, for example, a tank, and whatever these guys are buffing, that's what the tank is going to receive. So, for example, get mobile tank designer, I'm going to get more max speed and more reliability. On the next tank, I research. Same goes for these two. Industrial concern is pretty much boost the research time in different research fields. We'll get to that later. These are theorists. They theorize, do stuff. They essentially give buffs. You can mouse over to see. It's not that hard. This is military staff. This is buffs to your military. Mouse over, you see what they do. This is your military high command. These also give buffs to your military. Mouse over, you see what they do. Equip them how you see fit, I guess. Well, we're still at politics and the democracy. What? While we're still at politics and diplomacy, you can look at decisions, because this is the last place where I'm going to mention political power. Not really, but you'll see. This is also a place where you can spend those coins to, you know, give buffs and take decisions. Now Solver, you see what they do. Oh, what is this? Let's play the game for about an hour. Hold on. Whatever, he already completed them. You're gonna click on this button. This is essentially NIFO bills. It's exclusive to Germany, and if you continue paying them, national spirit stays, and you get those buffs. If you stop paying them, you don't get those buffs. Simple as that. Next up is stability and war support. Stability is how stable your country is. The more stable, the better it behaves. The less stable, you can get a riot and maybe even a civil war. This is war support. This is how much your country supports war and is willing to essentially support you through the war. Next up, research. This is here. Every country starts about 3 or 2 slots. You can get up to 5, or in Germany's case, 6 if you go democratic route. These are different technologies that you can research. There are different technologies you can research. You're going to start off in this tab. This is essentially equipment that your infantry, people on foot with guns are going to use. They give different buffs, so it's good to research them, but not ahead of time, because then you get a time debuff. This is equipment, this is mobile infantry. Essentially mobile infantry is the same as infantry, but they're faster. Special forces, that's if you want to do something really specific, such as fighting in the mountains or paradropping your troops, something like that. Next up, support companies. These are buffs to your divisions. We'll talk about division building a bit later, and also really briefly, but these also give their own bonuses you can mouse over, and their names are also pretty self-explanatory. Armor. These are tanks. There are about 5 types of tanks: light, medium, heavy, super heavy, and modern. Light are light. They move. They're pretty fast. Medium are kind of in between of light and heavy. Heavy are heavy, but they're really strong. Light are light, but they're not as strong. Mediums they're medium. They're pretty okay at movement. They're also pretty okay at attacking. Really good at early game. Modern tanks, the jack of all trades. You pretty much use only these after you research them. Super heavy tanks. You almost never use these unless you have really good industry and you're just using them just for the shits and giggles. I don't know. When I played as Imperial Germany, I took them and equipped 1 tank into every infantry division, just like to have support, because they're just as slow as regular infantry. Artillery, self-explanatory. These are anti-air. You almost never use these because you have an air force. Artillery. These are pretty good at destroying soft targets. Soft targets are humans. Hard are tanks and cars. I think that's also explanatory. Rocket artillery, a bit better than artillery, but also experimental. Anti-tank. I think it explains it here. It's anti and it's tank. Yeah. Alright, I forgot to tell you something about tanks. There are subtypes of tanks. Don't worry about these. There are 3 subtypes. Anti-tank subtype, which are tank destroyers. Self-propelled artillery, or SPA as it's called in the community, which are essentially tanks that are more effective at eliminating human targets. And anti-air. You're almost never going to use these because you have an air force again. Stick to using the regular tanks, and if you want to, you can make a mix of regular self-propelled artillery and anti-tank, and anti-tank are especially good against the Soviet Union if you're facing them in the regular difficulty or in the multiplayer game. Land doctrines. These are like skill trees, and doctrines exist for all the 3 types of army: land, navy, and aerial. These are essentially skill trees. They give different buffs according to your playstyle. You can read and mouse over. I'm not going to go too much into it. Naval. Different ships. Ignore everything but carriers, submarines, and battleships. Essentially, that's the only thing you're going to ever use when playing before the 1.5 update. This is also really important. You can invade Britain better if you have better naval invasion technology. House over. Naval doctrines. Same thing as land except for navy. Air. Oh boy, this is really fucking important. Never skimp out on air, as some people do. There are 6 types of planes. CAS, close air support. These support your troops in battle. These guys. Fighters. These fight other planes, protecting every other type of plane. Naval bombers. These bomb the ships. They're also cheaper to produce than a navy, and if you don't have a navy, you make a lot of naval bombers to support your navy. See this little button? That makes the plane suitable for aircraft carrier usage, so you can land them on aircraft carriers. Heavy fighters. These are like fighters, more expensive, also stronger, but also more expensive and less agile. Agile? Agile. Tactical bombers. These are bombers that are tactical. They use tactics. Strategic bombers. These are bombers that bomb strategically, so you can choose what exactly to bomb. For example, you can bomb Maginot Line and and walk right fucking through it because the French army sucks. Don't worry about jet engines. You'll never get to this point in the game. It's probably gonna start going really slowly. Aerial doctrines. Again, same thing. And then we get engineering and industry. Engineering is essentially tools that you can use for better research, like faster research, for example. And, for more technology that you can research, for example, atomic research. You can start making nukes in 1945. Industry. This is where you make your industry better by researching different methods. For example, after getting basic machine tools, you can, make your industry more concentrated or more dispersed. I usually go dispersed in all my games because they have like different buffs you can mouse over, decide what's best for you. Synthetic oil. If you can't trade for oil, if you're at war, you can make some oil yourself. Construction. This makes you construct better and faster, and this means this thing lets you extract more resources more efficiently. When starting a game, usually what you do is you go straight to this tab, research this. You go to this tab, research this. Go to this tab, research this. And the fourth one is up to you. Whatever the fuck you want to research. I don't know. Another tank. We already have all the tank technology. A plane. A better plane. A doctrine. Something here in industry. For example, construction. I usually go construction. Yeah, that is pretty much it for research. Alright, next up is industry. Industry is pretty damn straightforward. Because you've done it in the tutorial. If you haven't, please go and do it. Like, for real, it teaches you kind of a lot of stuff. But it doesn't teach you enough. Alright, so there are a couple of types of buildings. You can build infrastructure, essentially better infrastructure. You can get more resources, you can transport troops faster, you can hold more troops in that area. Air bases. Those are airports. You can have more planes in that state than anti-air. Those are things that do anti-air. They go, they shoot planes when they get too close. Radio. These are essentially spying stations, and you can see stuff, others, troops on the border, and their exact count. Then there are 4 types of factories. I think there are 3, but there are 4. Let's get the simple out of the way. Synthetic refinery. These essentially make rubber and oil synthetically. Naval dockyards. These make ships and submarines and, convoys. Military. These make guns and everything related to the military. Aircraft, guns, tanks, whatever. Then there are civilian. These are mother of all factories. They make other factories, so everything you see here is getting made by civilian factories. And these are also the factories that you want to start making in early games. So let me just queue up some random states, doesn't really matter. You want to start making these in the beginning, and then you want to start making military and naval and whatever that you think you need. These, of course, they make civilian, they make military, they make everything. These are also used as a form of currency in trading, so if you trade 8 units of something, unless they're your puppet, is going to equal for 1 factory, so you give them a factory or everything that factory outputs in exchange for 8 units of said materials, such as, for example, tungsten or oil. 7 factories also repair stuff, so it's pretty important to have them. These are forts. That is Maginot Line, water Maginot Line, and these are naval bases. How fast can these places repair your ships, if you even have any? Chances are your ships are going to get destroyed as Germany. Here are your ships, by the way. Next up, we have production. Production is pretty easy to manage once you get a hang of it. Navy. Honestly, destroyers and heavy cruisers and whatever, they don't do much. They don't do much now. But let these things finish. Just what I usually do when I start up as Germany is empty these out and fill them out, just like that. And then I take another submarine over here. I fill it out, and also take a battleship, and I fill it out. But first off, you want to only make submarines. Then you want to always be making guns. I usually leave guns at about this, because currently, Germany is fully equipped. Support equipment. Support equipment is like stuff for support companies. You don't have any, you don't need them. I'll get into division building a bit later. Towed artillery. This is artillery. It's pretty useful, so queue up a bit of that. Light tanks. Tanks are also pretty useful as Germany. Fucking believe it. So queue up about 5 on this, and then increase it. This is usually how I go, by the way. You don't have to go like this. I usually leave it about here, and that's how it means you have factories not being used. Motorized. These are cars, trucks that drive your troops around. Have been there. That is if you use them. Here, planes. You can. Yeah. By the way, you can add stuff by pressing here, here, and here, and you can modify some stuff by pressing this button and editing the stats by using experience. That's actually what it's used for. It's editing stuff. So now you know. We'll get into this a bit later. You know, just you gotta make it a bit of fighters, a lot of close air support, and also some bombers, especially strategic. If you strategically bomb the enemy country to fucking rubble, the infrastructure is gonna be shit, and you can easily invade. And that's simple. Logistics. This is how much you are making per day. Like we are making plus 2.5 compared to the demand. So every day we are making a surplus of 2.5. This is how much we have. If it's in the green, we don't. If it's in the green, you have a stockpile. If it's in the red, you have a deficit. Then, let's go into the trading tab. This is how you trade. This is how many resources you're spending. This means you have a deficit. This means you're importing a bit too much. Green means you already have it. This is how much you extract. This is how much you import of said resource. This is how much you export. And this is how much you spend in production yourself. To trade, let's for example trade for oil with the Soviet Union. By the way, don't trade early on. You see the slider, right? And here's what I said. 8 units per 1 civilian factory. You can press this button to automatically get as much as you need. Click send. 2 of your factories are gonna be deducted. They're not gonna be building anything in Germany, as they're going to be producing stuff for the Soviet Union in exchange for oil. Let's get into divisions. Here are divisions. How do you train them? You probably know it. I don't remember if the Italian tutorial has it, but to recap, press trade. You're training division. Press this to train more. Press shift to add 5. These divisions are different. You can look at their layout by pressing edit. This is the Panzer division. It has a bit of tanks, it has a bit of motorized, and you can see what kind of equipment they use here and their stats here. And let's talk about the stats. What support, what isn't. So this is the infantry, the usual infantry template. Honestly, I would usually change these 2 for artillery. That means you still have to make more artillery because there are no artillery dedicated corps, because these provide more damage. But you can just play as regular infantry, doesn't really matter. Max speed, explanatory, HP, hit points. You usually won't run out of these. Hit points are plenty. You're usually going to run out of organization before you run out of HP. Organization is how organized your army is. As soon as it runs out of organization, they can't attack, they run away. By the way, organization is this green bar of a unit. Ignore this and go into soft attack. This is how well they attack against soft targets. This is how well they attack against hard targets. This is their defense. This is the breakthrough. Breakthrough is essentially breakthrough. I think that's also explanatory. Combat width. Combat width is very important. 20 is the meta. 20 is what you should aim to have in all your divisions. You can have 6 or 8 combat width divisions, so essentially really small. Like divisions only have these 3 battalions. Yeah, battalions. Just 3 infantry battalions with no support. To put them on your naval border, or on your coast to protect the cities there against invasion. Here are the adjusters, how well they're going to perform in different sort of terrain. And yeah, you can also get 40 combat with units when you get like more manpower. You play as a country that has more manpower, such as the Soviet Union. Those units are going to be, you're going to have less units, but they're going to be more powerful, which is also a good thing. Oh yeah, division building. You can replace stuff here. Usually you don't want to really mix different designs or different categories. But you can mix, for example, light tanks and motorized, because they have like it's the same speed almost. You don't want to mix motorized and regular infantry, because the motorized is going to be slowed down by the infantry. What are these? These are support companies. You can research different support companies and add them right here. They give different buffs and certain debuffs as well. Erika von Marschlied. He has these buffs, these traits, and you can add traits, and traits are added by spending command power points. Pair drops are also done pretty easily. the paradrop order here.
Befehle!
You need a paradrop division to do that. You just essentially click this, then you need transport planes and sort of like airport. Then you can attack from that airport anywhere in like a radius. Naval invasions. How are those done? Well, you click naval order, you click one of your naval bases, then you click some other naval place. For example, let's drop into Malmö. Click enter. No divisions assigned. You actually have to like choose. Let's choose these 5 divisions are going to attack Malmö via naval invasion. Control, left click, you assign them. Now they're gonna have to start planning out this naval invasion. For naval invasion to actually commence, you have to have naval superiority, which means you have to have more and better ships in this area. That segues us into ships. How do we use ships? You have different fleets. You can attach different commanders to them, like that. Usually, I like to group up all my fleets into one big fleet, and then all the other submarines that I make, I group into fleets of 50 and assign different people to them. And those submarines, usually, I just spam them out into the English Channel and invade Britain with a combination of planes. Navy has four options. Let's just say this fleet is going to do something now. Let's say that they're going to patrol. You click patrol, then you right click on the area that they're going to patrol in. If we boost the time to ×5, green means we have superiority. Duh, because there is no war. Okay, let's go into aerial. Oh boy, this is aerial. Okay, so these little icons, those are different planes. These are naval bombers. You can assign them by right-clicking and then giving them a mission, much like the Navy. Different planes can do different missions. For example, here we have tactical bombers and fighters. If we choose to choose the fighters, we can make them get our air superiority and interception. Tactical bombers, what can they do? They can assist our troops, and they can also strategically bomb, apparently, and also naval strike. Kamikaze, I think that's German exclusive, but I'm not sure. That's how that works. Now, what is this red line? That is Rhineland. If you want to remove the red line, you essentially do either this or this. Now you essentially know how to play the game. Attacking should be no big feat to you as you completed the Italy tutorial. And yeah, from now on, just play as Germany and experiment with the game, and then when you think you want to explore something more, you can buy some of the DLC, play as different countries. For example, I've been having a lot of fun as Hungary, for example. Italy isn't really that good, but UK, Soviet Union, and yeah.